Bosphorus. It runs north to the Black Sea, down south to the Mediterranean. Asia is on this side, Europe is on this side. Everything comes into focus right here. Now, over 2,500 years ago, this was a Greek town, Byzantium. Then it was renamed Constantinople, capital of the Roman Empire. Many considered it the center of the world. Perhaps Napoleon said it best: if the world were a single state, then Constantinople would be its capital. The Hagia Sophia is Istanbul's most iconic building. It embodies the history of the entire city. It began life as a Christian cathedral built by the Romans. It was then converted into a mosque in the 15th century. And now, it's a secular museum. This 10th century gold mosaic shows the two Roman emperors responsible for the existence of the Hagia Sophia. This is Constantine the Great. He moved the imperial capital here from Rome in 324, when the empire was in turmoil. Thanks to his conversion to Christianity, it soon became the official religion of the entire empire. But it was this emperor, Justinian I, who built this cathedral in the 6th century. Its size and open spaces make it an astonishing piece of engineering for the time, and even today. But if Constantinople was to grow, its people would need the miracle of Roman hydraulic engineering. One of the most magnificent places to observe some of that hydraulic engineering is not underground, but rather while just sitting here, sipping a tea, or chai as they call it, if you're underneath an aqueduct. This is the Valens Aqueduct. It's the city's major water supply in Roman times. It's over 100 feet high and over half a mile long, and the water channel descends on top into the city. It was a masterful engineering feat, and today it still dominates the city landscape. It was completed by Emperor Valens in the late 4th century. The western half of the Roman Empire was in decline, but Constantinople was still on a building spree. I'm a Roman guy, so don't tell me it's better than Rome.
It's different to Rome, but in some ways it exceeds Rome in terms of the length of the channels and the way that the channels have to cut through really difficult countryside. So it's a real engineering achievement in the way much more than Rome is.
Our scans reveal that the water flowed through two great channels inside the aqueduct bridge. Jim's research confirms that the water was then directed into cisterns across the city, 209 of them. Some small, some improvised like the one in the Hippodrome, and some purpose-built and as big as a football field. They were fed by two supply lines coming all the way from Forest Springs up to 125 miles away. Altogether, there were over 360 miles of channels in the longest and most sophisticated water system of the ancient world. Today, people drive past walls like this and think nothing of it. But it was once a beautiful palace. This overgrown mess is the Palace Bucaleon. It was once part of the great palace of Constantinople. Now, when it was built in the 5th century, the sea came right up and crashed against these walls. We're told that there were 500 rooms covered in golden mosaics, but all that's left of its faded glory are these few marble window frames. I've been told that you can get into the palace through here. When this palace was built, Constantinople was said to possess 2/3 of the world's wealth. The remains of the Bucaleon Palace are a melancholy reminder of the city's lost glory.
This is major architecture. The scale is huge. And of course, it just must have been some sort of a stateroom. The walls would have been lined with marble. You can imagine mosaic floors, painted vaults, and of course, in antiquity, it's right on the water's edge. What a spectacular view you would have had. Still pretty spectacular today.
Our graphic gives us just an idea of the grandeur and scale of this magnificent palace. So far, our scan team has recorded ruins that tell the story of the rise of Constantinople. Here the ruins tell us about its decline. And the people who caused the destruction here were Western Christians. Rome and Constantinople were at the center of a dispute over religious doctrine in 1054. From that point, Crusaders from the West saw the people here as Eastern heretics.
This was once a chapel, covered in gleaming, resplendent marble. But it's all charred black from fire. Today, this is a refuge for the homeless. But the real destruction took place over 800 years ago, when in 1204, this city was sacked by Western European crusaders. They pillaged, they trashed this palace and this city. Constantinople was on the ropes.
The Western invaders occupied Constantinople for 57 years. They desecrated Eastern Orthodox churches, burned down the library, and looted the palaces.
By the 15th century, the population of Constantinople had plummeted like a stone, down to 70,000 tops.
The Roman Empire, the greatest power the world had ever seen, had now shrunk to this single city. Those who remained soldiered on, growing their own food, surviving the best they could. The Muslim Ottoman Empire had the Christian city completely surrounded. By 1453, the only way supplies could reach the city was by ship. And the Ottoman leader, Sultan Mehmet, was about to increase the pressure. He built this huge fortress to lay siege to the city. It's on the European side of the Bosphorus at its narrowest point. Less than 800 yards from Mehmet's fort on the Asian side.
The name of this stronghold, Rimeri Hisaru, literally means Fortress of the Romans. Now let's think about that for a second, because the year was 1453. That means 50 years later, Columbus discovered America, and still Constantinople was the capital of the Roman Empire. The original name is even better, Boğazkesan Castle, literally throat cutter, because we're at the choke point here at the Bosphorus, and it was meant to cut the throat of the Bosphorus, and it worked.
Ancient Invisible Cities is available on DVD. To order, visit Shop PBS or call 1-800-PLAY-PBS. This program is also available on Amazon Prime Video.